A table for two, please. A practical phrase used to request a restaurant table for two people. A table for two, please. A table for two, please, I said while a third chair arrived carrying a cactus. Do you have a table available? A practical phrase used to ask whether a restaurant has an open table. Do you have a table available? Do you have a table available? I asked while one table hid behind a curtain. Could we sit by the window? A practical phrase used to request seats next to a window. Could we sit by the window? Could we sit by the window? I asked as the window put on enormous binoculars. Do you have an English menu? A practical phrase used to ask for a menu written in English. Do you have an English menu? Do you have an English menu? I asked while a menu wearing glasses rolled toward me. What do you recommend? A practical phrase used to ask restaurant staff for a recommendation. What do you recommend? What do you recommend? I asked as the chef presented a soup wearing a tiny crown. What is today's special? A practical phrase used to ask about the restaurant's special dish of the day. What is today's special? What is today's special? I asked while a bowl of soup opened a tiny umbrella. Does this dish contain nuts? A practical phrase used to check whether a dish contains nuts. Does this dish contain nuts? Does this dish contain nuts? I asked a squirrel waiter guarding an acorn-shaped pie. I'm allergic to shellfish. A practical phrase used to tell restaurant staff about a shellfish allergy. I'm allergic to shellfish. I'm allergic to shellfish, I said, and a polite shrimp carefully moved the plate away. Is this dish vegetarian? A practical phrase used to check whether a dish is suitable for vegetarians. Is this dish vegetarian? Is this dish vegetarian? I asked while a carrot detective inspected every ingredient. Could you make it less spicy? A practical phrase used to request a milder version of a dish. Could you make it less spicy? Could you make it less spicy? I asked while the chili peppers tucked themselves into bed. I'll have this, please. A practical phrase used to order an item by pointing to it on the menu. I'll have this, please. I'll have this, please, I said as the picture on the menu pointed back at me. Could we have some water? A practical phrase used to politely request water for the table. Could we have some water? Could we have some water? I asked as a tiny cloud joined the waiting staff. Could I have another fork? A practical phrase used to request an additional or replacement fork. Could I have another fork? Could I have another fork? I asked while the first fork practiced gymnastics. We haven't received our order yet. A practical phrase used to politely report that an order has not arrived. We haven't received our order yet. We haven't received our order yet, I said while our pizza waited in a tiny traffic jam. Could you bring this without cheese? A practical phrase used to request a dish without cheese. Could you bring this without cheese? Could you bring this without cheese? I asked as the cheese opened a tiny parachute. May I have this to go? A practical phrase used to ask for food to be packed for takeaway. May I have this to go? May I have this to go? I asked while the noodles packed a miniature suitcase. Could we have separate checks? A practical phrase used to request separate bills for different diners. Could we have separate checks? Could we have separate checks? I asked as two receipts danced to opposite sides of the table. Is service included? A practical phrase used to check whether a service charge is already on the bill. Is service included? Is service included? I asked while a robot waiter examined the bill with a magnifying glass. Can I pay at the table? A practical phrase used to ask whether payment can be made at the table. Can I pay at the table? Can I pay at the table? I asked as the table politely offered a card reader. Everything was delicious. A practical phrase used to compliment the food after a meal. Everything was delicious. Everything was delicious, I said as the empty plates took a proud bow.